Lots of news breaking out of Las Vegas today, including an update from the governor about masks. Are they mandated or not? And one company is really pushing vaccines for their employees. They have the choice not to get them as well, but there's a catch. So stay tuned. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Nick. I wanted to make a video tonight because there's a couple big pieces of news coming out of Las Vegas tonight. Or today, and the biggest of which has just been in the last few hours. So let's dive right into that one. We have a story here that says Nevada reimposes indoor mask mandate in high transmission areas. This is from the Las Vegas Review-Journal. Here we go. Nevada Governor Steve Sisolak late Tuesday imposed a new mandate that requires everyone, vaccinated or not, to wear masks indoors in public places and counties with high rates of COVID-19 transmission, which includes Clark County, where Las Vegas is. The governor's directive aligns with a new recommendation earlier in the day from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC. The directive includes a 3-day grace period that gives businesses and residents until Friday to comply. Businesses and residents in counties with substantial or high transmission are strongly urged to adopt the changes as soon as possible, said a news release from the governor's office. 12 of Nevada's 17 counties are currently considered to have substantial or high transmission. They include Carson, Churchill, Clark, Douglas, Elko, Esmeralda, Lincoln, Lyon, Mineral, Nye, Washoe, and White Pine, the governor's office said, citing CDC data. The state's mandate does not apply to participants in certain activities or events, including athletes, performers, and musicians. Now, this was the later of the two pieces of news I'm sharing with you today, and it's funny because I had already filmed a video talking about the first one, and I got done and I was saying, don't worry, because this piece of news doesn't really have anything to do with hotel guests or casino, and the gaming or anything like that. It's just for the employees. So we'll get to that in a second. But this is the bigger of the two pieces of news, because this affects everyone. So even if you've been vaccinated, there's still going to be requirements coming back to Las Vegas that require masks to be worn indoors. So just a heads up that's going to take effect this Friday, the 30th. That's pretty self-explanatory. There's not really anything to analyze there. I mean, cases, regardless of what you think about the virus and how serious it is, the cases are going up. So the CDC is always changing their guidances, and Steve Sisolak, the governor, seems to make his decisions based on their guidance, which makes sense. A lot of people do that. So that's a big piece of news that will affect all of us. So I want to know, if you comment, will this affect your decision to go to Vegas or not in the coming months? Because I'm guessing that it's not just going to be for a few weeks. This could be back for a while. So does that matter to you? And I want to look at this other article here, which is the one that I originally was going to make the video about, which I haven't heard anybody else mention, but MGM Resorts requiring proof of vaccination from employees or weekly COVID-19 tests for $15. So this is just applying to MGM Resorts. I think the Wynn had the same policy a while back when the vaccines had become readily available and they were kind of opening back up, and they got a fair amount of blowback from it, although I haven't heard anything about it lately. So maybe the guidelines have been not there for a while, so I don't know. It says MGM Resorts employees are being required to provide proof of vaccination or begin getting weekly COVID-19 tests that they have to pay for. That's according to current employees who received an email from that address right there on Monday. That's the email account used to generate messages to employees. Employees are required to upload a photo of their vaccine card or begin paying $15 out of pocket for weekly tests. The requirement moves beyond efforts to require employees to wear masks, which went into effect last week, which I actually made a video about that last week when that came out. The email said mandatory COVID-19 begins today for last names A through E. MGM Resorts International operates the following properties in Las Vegas. We've got Bellagio, Aria, Vdara, Excalibur, Luxor, Mandalay Bay, Delano, MGM Grand, and all of the other parts of MGM Grand here. The Mirage, New York, Park MGM. The company operates more casinos across the United States and across the world. A recent estimate puts the number of worldwide employees at about 35,000, less than half the number employed before the pandemic. They reached out to the company for comment. I'm assuming they did not get a comment back. So what I had prepared to say, and what I'd already said when I filmed this the first time, is that, well, this doesn't really apply to hotel guests or people who are visiting any of these casinos to game or whatever, because this really just affects the employees. Now, I was going to ask, and I still can ask, does this change your opinion of MGM that they're requiring their employees to do this? You might have a negative opinion of MGM because of this news, because a lot of people, myself included, would argue that would disagree with requiring employees to get anything like a vaccine. Now, they aren't technically requiring them to get the vaccine, because they're also giving the option to produce a negative COVID test, which they have to pay for out of pocket, which is kind of a little weird as well. But that's the situation. You might have a more favorable view of MGM because it looks, by all accounts, trying to create a safer environment, the best they know how to do. They feel like what they can control the most without losing money and customers again, because I don't think any of these casinos or any of these properties want to take steps backwards again. The best thing they know how to do is to control their own employees and doing what they can to control the spread. And they also are one of the companies that own properties on the Strip that really are taking a stand on this. It seems like there are a lot of places that are kind of just like, well, whatever the state mandates, we'll obviously have to do, but if there's not going to be any restrictions, we're not going to have any restrictions. So maybe you respect them a little more for doing this. I don't know. We're all going to have different opinions on it. I'm not really here to debate it, but more just pass this along. Now, the other thing I did want to mention about this story, which still could be an issue, is that if employees of MGM, and you'll see down here, just to remind you, it says they have less than half the number of employees that they had employed prior to COVID. So just like all the other casinos, all of the MGM properties are short-staffed, and you hear stories about dirty rooms, not just with MGM, but across the board in Vegas. Even Resorts World that just opened, you've been hearing a lot of stories about the rooms not being ready or they're dirty. And essentially the customer experience has really suffered during this time when everyone is short-staffed. And so what I wonder with this is when you have this kind of ultimatum, you're giving your employees an ultimatum saying either you have to get the vaccine or you have to pay out of pocket for a COVID test. If employees don't want to comply with this and some people end up getting fired, or they leave to go somewhere else that isn't having these requirements, then I do wonder if that could trickle down and affect even more the customer experience at some of these properties. So anyway, those are the two pieces of news I wanted to share. The first one, obviously breaking just within the last few hours, about masks coming back to Vegas, indoors, whether or not you're vaccinated. And then we have the story about MGM requiring their employees to either get the vaccine or produce a negative COVID test, which will be paid by the employee out of pocket. So tell me what you think. Does this impact your, maybe you've been thinking about going to Vegas soon because, it's all back. Travel's picking up. You see stories and pictures and video of the streets kind of packed again. People going, 60,000 people piling into Allegiant Stadium to see Garth Brooks. All this kind of stuff that kind of screams business as usual in Las Vegas. But now it looks like we are maybe taking some steps backwards. Hopefully we're not going to get to more lockdowns. Nobody wants that. But does this affect whether or not you want to go right now or soon? Let me know. Comment down below. Please be nice to each other. This is a touchy subject, but I would love to hear from you. I'd also love to hear if you have had a negative experience at any of the MGM properties to this point because of them being short-staffed. and what you think this news might mean for that going forward. So really appreciate you guys watching. Hit the like button if you enjoy hearing Vegas news. I don't live in Vegas. I live in Oregon, but I love Vegas. I can't wait to go back. But until I do get to go back, I'm trying to just stay as plugged in as possible. So I'm happy to kind of bring more information to you as it comes out. So hit that like button for me if you are interested in that. Subscribe to the channel if you are looking forward to more content as well. And if you hit the little bell icon, you'll be notified when I put out new content. I'm putting out a lot of different, travel related content and about different places I go. My family and I just got back from a trip to Lake Tahoe and Reno, so there's going to be more videos coming out from that trip. I'm really looking forward to it. Probably another 8 to 10 videos about that. So it was a great time, and there will be some casino talk there as well. So if you guys have anything to say, comment below, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for joining me. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next one.